Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be making a tutorial on how to cut and sew this gown with V-shaped ruffles. So if this is something that interests you, kindly stay tuned to the end of the tutorial. Thank you. So guys, these are the two fabric that we are going to be using for this tutorial. This Ankara fabric and the senator material. This Ankara fabric is 4 yards and the senator material is about 1.5 yards. So I'm going to go ahead and set it aside for now. So the first thing we do is to draft our pattern on our pattern paper. So this is the pattern paper we'll be using. So we are going to insert our shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. So at that 8 inches, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So after coming down by 1 inch, I'm going to go back to that shoulder measurement and mark my neck width. The neck width we are using is 4 inches. So from that 4 inches to that 1 inch that I came down, I'm going to connect that together in a straight line. Then I'm going to go ahead and insert my vertical body measurements. I will insert my bust point. My bust point is 11.5, so I will insert that. My under bust is 15 inches, so I'll go ahead and insert that. Then my waistline is 18 inches, I will insert that. And my hip length is line is 28 inches. So after I mark my hip line, I'm going to the length of the V shape that I want to form is going to be about 9 or 10 inches below the hip line. So now I'm going to go ahead and mark like 10 inches below the hip line, and I'm going to form a straight line on all those points. So I'll go ahead and label each point. This is the bust point. The lines that follows it is the under bust, then the waistline, then the hip line, and the last line there is a V-shaped line, which I'm going to denote as full length. So after marking all those lines, I'll go to my bust point and go up by 2 inches. So that 2 inches that I'm going up with is what I'm going to use to form my chest line. So I'll go to the shoulder slope and form a straight line connecting the shoulder slope down to the chest line. So after forming that straight line, I'll go ahead and insert my bust circumference measurements. The bust circumference measurement I'm using is 10.75. So after inserting my bust circumference measurement, I'll get the midpoint of that line from the shoulder slope to the chest line, and the midpoint, I will mark that midpoint. Then I'll go in by half an inch. So after going in by half an inch, I'm going to connect that point, and that point together with my armhole curve. So that is basically my armhole. So it's time to work on my dart. So at the center front, I'm going to on the bust point, I'm going to go in by 4 inches, which is my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. So I'll do that on the under bust, waistline, and on the hip line. Then I'm going to connect those together with a straight line. Then I'll come down by 1 inch on the bust point and go up by 1 inch on the hip line. Then on the waistline, I'm going to come out on both sides by half an inch, and I've practically formed my dart like that. So after doing that, I'm going to go ahead now and start marking my circumference measurements. I've already marked my bust circumference, but I'm adding 1.5 inch, which is a seam allowance. So for the waistline, I'm going to insert my waist circumference measurement, which is 9.25. Then I'm going to add 1 inch for the dart intake and 1.5 inch for seam allowance. Then for the hip measurement as well, I'll go ahead to mark my hip measurement, which is 12 inches. So I'll mark 12 inches. Then I'm going to add 1.5 inch seam allowance. So after marking all those points, I'm going to take my curve rule and just use this to connect all those points together with each other. So guys, it's time to work on the upper part of our gown, that part that formed a little bit cup. So to do that, I'm going to go to my bust point. You can decide to maintain that bust point, you can go up, or you can use the chest line, but I'm going to go up from my bust point by 1.5 inches. So when I mark that 1.5 inch, I'm going to go in at that point with 0.5 inch. So after going in, I'm just going to connect that and form a little line there. So at that line, I'm going to connect it to the neck width that we've already formed the other time. So that's going to be our neck depth. So at that 0.5 inch, I'm going to take my curve rule, my armhole curve. At that 0.5 inch, I'm going to take my armhole curve to connect it to my under bust. Make sure you place it the armhole curve properly, as if you are cutting out a corset. So as you can see, I've already formed that. So this is the midpoint effect that it has, that we are just creating. Then after at the under bust, I'm going to go up by 1 inch. So at the sides of the under bust, I'll go up by 1 inch like so. Then I'm going to take my curve rule and just slightly curve it to the under bust with my curve rule. So after I do that, we have successfully created our upper part effect for this gown. So after creating the upper part effect, we are going to move to the lower part to create that V shape effect. So to create the V shape effect, we are going to go up from our hip line. I'm going to go up by 4 inches. If you like, you can go up by 3 inches, 4 inches, or 5 inches, maximum of 5 inches. So after going up by 4 inches, I'm just going to connect that 4 inches down to the length, the part that I marked as the full length of the gown. So guys, disregard the line at the lower part, so we are maintaining this upper part line. The reason I make the mistake is because my ruler is not long to capture that line. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut out the pattern. So guys, this is our front panel, and as you can see, I didn't cut out the yoke part. So I didn't cut it out yet because I'm going to use this front panel to draft my back panel. So that's why it's still intact. So after cutting out the back panel, I will cut it out. So I'm going to use this front panel now to go ahead and mark the back panel. So guys, I've already marked the zipper allowance for the back panel. So I'm going to place the center front on that line that denotes the starting point of the zipper allowance. So we can know where the zipper allowance starts, I'm going to go ahead now and just label it zipper. So after labeling it, I will make sure that the center front stays on that line that ends the zipper allowance, and I'm going to go ahead and pin that down on the new pattern paper. So after pinning it down, I'm going to go to the neck area, because the difference between this the front panel of this pattern is going to be the neckline. So I'll go to the neck area and mark where I mark the starting point of the neckline. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark a straight line on that, like that, so I will know where the neckline starts from. So at that neckline, I'm going to go down by 2 inches for my neck depth, because we don't want it to be too low. So after marking the 2 inches, I will lift up the neck of the front panel and use my armhole curve to connect the neck width to the neck depth. So I'm going to extend that into the zipper allowance. So after marking that, I will place the neck, the shoulder of the front panel back on it. Then I'll go to that point at the under bust where we are going to separate the yoke of the front panel from the down part. So I'm going to denote that on the pattern paper for the back panel, because we are making yoke for the back panel as well. Then I'll go ahead now to cut it out. So after cutting it out, I want to eliminate the any zip bulge that might want to come on our clothes. So I'm trying to mark out the waist on the back panel. So after marking out the waist, I'm going to remove the front panel from the back panel. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and form a straight line on the waist, because I've used the front panel to mark it. So I'm going to form a straight line on the waist. Then at the waist part of the zipper allowance, I'm going to go in by half an inch. So I'm going to connect that half an inch to the top of the gown and to the down part of the gown in a slant form. So that way we are eliminating any zip bulge that might want to form on our gown. So guys, after marking out the zipper bulge, I'm going to go ahead now to use my ruler to connect the part where I'm going to cut out as the yoke for the back panel to each other. So once I do that, I will cut out the yoke for the back panel. Then I'll move to the front panel and I'll cut out the yoke as well. So after separating the yoke of the front panel from that of the main bodies, this is what I have. So this is what I have here. So now I want to form gathers on that yoke part. So I'm going to go ahead and slash it open on that line. I'll slash it till I almost reach the end at the shoulder line. So when I want to cut it, I'll spread it open like this. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut this the front panel and the back panel out on my main fabric. So guys, I've gone ahead to cut all the pattern out on my main fabric. As you can see, I spread open the yoke of the front panel and I added half an inch both at the down and at the shoulder part that I'm going to use to join together. Then I've gone ahead to cut my down part as well. So I added half an inch to the V-shape part and also to the top part that I'm connecting to the yoke. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and work on the yokes. So I've cut the lining for each yoke. So I'm going to unpin the pattern paper from the yoke of the back panel. So after unpinning it, I'll place the lining on the yoke. So once I place the lining on the yoke, I'm going to turn the neckline, turn the zipper allowance, then I will take in the darts. So for the the yoke of the front panel as well, I'll turn in the down part, turn in the neckline, turn in the side, and for the down part as well, I'll take in the dart for each of the down parts for both the front and the back panel. So when I'm done with all that, I'm going to come back and we'll continue. So guys, I've gone ahead to work on my yoke. So this is the yoke for the back panel. As you can see, I've taken in the darts for both sides. Then I've taken in the darts for each piece of the down part for both the back panel and that of the front panel. So for the front panel, for the yoke of the front panel, I've turned the neckline and the sides as well, and I went ahead to run a loose stitch round the down parts of the yoke of the front panel because I want to form a gathers on it. So now I'm going to open up the down part of the front panel. Then at the upper part that I'm folding out, I'll fold it in and take it to my machine and sew it. But I'm just going to pin it down for now. So when I go to my machine, I'm going to sew that part down. So after that, I will take the yoke of my front panel, one piece of the yoke of my front panel, and I'm going to use it to measure the upper part of the down part. So as you can see, I've placed it on it and it's bigger, is larger than it, and that's because I want a form a gathers. So I'm going to pull the thread, the loose thread I just made. So I'm going to pull it now to form my gathers. So once I form my gathers, I'm going to, as I'm forming the gathers, I'll be placing it on the down part to see whether they size each other, whether they fit. So the moment I see that they fit each other, that one is no longer than one, so I'll take it to my machine and sew it down. I'll do that for the other sides as well. So for the back panel, I'm going to join the yoke of the back panel to the down part of the back panel as well, and I will join together and attach my zipper. So guys, this is what I have after attaching the yoke of the front panel to that of the down part, and this is what I have for the back panel. I've attached my zipper to it as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure the down part of our gown, the V shape, the V part of our gown. So I'm going to measure it all through from one side to the other. So whatever measurement we have there is what is going to serve as the length of the ruffles that we are going to be cutting. So as you can see, I have about 38 inches there. So we are going to be cutting 38 inches in 2 or 3 places for the length for the width of our ruffles. So to know the length of our ruffles, we are going to measure from the shoulder down to the shorter part of the down part. Then we are going to measure it down to whatever length we want. I want 42 inches length. 42 minus 26 is about 17 inches. So I've gone ahead to mark it now. This is my 38 inches in 2.5 places. Then the length, which is 17 inches, I've marked that one out as well, and I've run a loose stitch round the I've run a loose stitch round the length of this ruffles. So I'm going to go ahead now and pull the ruffles. So I'll pull it for this front panel, then I'll pull it for the back panel as well. So I'm done pulling. This is just for the front panel. So the 38 inches in 2.5 places that I cut out the other time is just for the front panel. We'll cut another one of that size for the back panel. So for the front panel, I've notched the midpoint of the ruffles. So I'm going to place the midpoint of the ruffles on the midpoint of the V shape at the down part. So I will place it on it like this and pin it together. So once I pin it together, I will try and gently pull out the gathers bit by bit till it touches the side of the skirt. So once it touches the side like that, I'll take it to my machine and just sew it down like so. So I'll do the same as well for the other side. So after doing that for the other side, I will repeat the same process for the back panel as well. So guys, this is the back panel. I've already formed the ruffles for that of the back panel, so I've formed that of the front panel as well. So this is the ruffles for the front panel as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is to place the right side of the front panel to the right side of the back panel. So after placing it on each shoulder, I'm going to go ahead and join the shoulders together. Once I join the shoulders together, I've already cut this simple short sleeve, so I'll go ahead and attach it to the armhole. Then I will join the sides together with the 1.5 inch seam allowance that we left. Then I will hem the down part of this gown and we are practically done. Then I'll come back and show you the final look of this gown. So guys, this is the final look of our gown. As you can see, it's sitting so pretty on my body. Thank you so much guys for watching this tutorial. Please do well to like this video, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to this YouTube channel to enjoy more content. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.